Oh, hello there, it's your favorite fat Asian, and I want to talk to you guys about sending and receiving nudes. I know you guys are out there doing it, but you know what you don't want to receive? A message from a hacker letting you know that he's stolen said nudes and is going to blackmail you for it. Fucking Tinder. And come on, it's 2022, people. You know by now that you need a VPN. But beyond that, Surfshark also allows you to maximize all the streaming services that you're paying for. Of course, the obvious example you've heard about, Netflix and different region-locked content. But what if I also told you that you could also use Surfshark to access Venmo outside of the US? Or let's say you're a big UFC fan, but you can't get ESPN Plus where you are. Go ahead, set your location to the US, and boom, you got ESPN Plus. Or let's say you're in the States and you got NBA League Pass, but you know what's annoying about that? All the blackout games. But go ahead, move your location to the UK, and voila, blackout games, no more. And the cherry on top, if you aren't satisfied with the service, it's a money-back guaranteed refund. So there is literally no excuse for you to go ahead and sign up for Surfshark. The link is in the top of the doobly-doo, and if you use code BMO at checkout, you get 83% off, as well as 3 months free. And right now, they have a special promo from June 1st to July 4th. They're going to throw in free antivirus software. Double wrap your dirty dick on the internet. But do not double wrap your dick with condoms. That actually makes it so that they break easier. This is the real shit they need to teach you in school. So yeah, once again, use the link on the top, use code BMO at checkout, and thank you once again for Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the show. Oh, hello there, my fellow Americans. Last week, I gave you the skinny on the two top dogs of the Premier League this season. But you are discerning and curious fellow. Even if you have decided to support the despicable, oil money rich Manchester City or the annoyingly lovable Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool, you still need to know the skinny on the rest of the top six as they are known. Those teams being Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, and Manchester United. Not only because you never know one of these teams, it's not very likely, but one of these teams could possibly get number 2. But more than likely, all 4 of these teams are going to shit the bed in one way or the other, and you need to know how to talk shit about them when they do. Which is honestly more important to you, my fellow American, than learning the offside rule. We're honest with ourselves, sports is 50% talking shit. So that is what I'm going to do for you today. Give you a quick Spark Notes preview on these 4 teams, teach you how to shit on them, or conversely, who knows, maybe you grow to love one of these plucky underdogs, if you can call them that, and hop onto one of their bandwagons for the season. Although I wouldn't recommend it. In my experience over the past 2 decades, Chelsea maybe. The other 3, lost cause. But hopefully, by the end of this video, you will learn that win, lose, or draw, you as an American should tune in to Arsenal Fan TV because that shit is always comedy gold. Welcome to a Clueless Guide to the Premier League 2023 edition, Part 2, the best of the rest. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the team that I recommended most Americans support last year because it was the team that Christian Pulisic played for. That, of course, is Chelsea. And actually, a year later, I honestly wouldn't recommend any Americans to support this team, and the reasons are quite complicated. Yes, Pulisic is still there, but he kind of wants out because he doesn't feature regularly in the starting 11. And on top of that, I'd say a fair amount of Chelsea fans don't really care for him. Yeah, he has a few supporters, but even I, as a biased American, must admit that since his pandemic season, his form has been less than stellar. But even beyond our plucky Americans' troubles, Chelsea is a team in complete upheaval, which is kind of nothing new for this club. This is Chelsea. Turnover when it comes to managers and players has been something of a nearly annual occurrence for the London Giants for the past 2 decades. Now, quick history lesson on them. Chelsea hadn't won a trophy in 26 years before Roman Abramovich bought the club and used Russian oil money to turn them into what Man City are today just a decade before. And since he bought the club, Chelsea's trophy cabinet has become quite plump with Premier League and Champions League trophies. In fact, they were the last team to win the Premier League, not named Liverpool or Manchester City. And just 2 years ago, they were champions of all of Europe. But, and you probably saw this coming, the war in Ukraine broke out. And Roman Abramovich, actually, yeah, he does have heavy ties with Putin. So thus, England kind of forced him to sell the club. So admittedly, gracefully, he obliged. And just this past July, Chelsea Football Club was sold for a reported $2.5 billion to a group of investors led by a guy named Todd Boehly. Now this Todd Boehly fellow is also an American, and most notably, he is part owner of the Dodgers and a minority owner of the LA Lakers, which at first might not look ideal. But you gotta remember, Liverpool are owned by Fenway Sports Group, the people who own the Boston Red Sox, and Liverpool are doing bits. So for my English Chelsea fans who are watching this, I'm going to give you a little bit of comfort food here. The LA Dodgers are one of the better run organizations in the MLB. They aren't afraid to spend on talent, and the players they bring in tend to be quite successful. In fact, they won a championship in the pandemic season not too long ago, and a lot of their fans truly love the Dodgers and the experience in and around the stadium. And this is coming from an American who hates the fucking Dodgers. Yeah, I'm a Giants fan. But all that being said, this abrupt change was always going to be a logistical nightmare for the upper management of Chelsea. And with Bowley having no real experience in English football, their transfer window has been kind of a shit show. Well, it's been kind of all over the place, is probably the more fair way to put it. For starters, Chelsea ended up losing their best defender, Antonio Rudiger, who was instrumental in their Champions League win 2 years ago. He wasn't just their best center half, but he became one of the best defenders in the world, period, under Thomas Tuchel. And now he is gone. And even worse, he's gone on a free. They got absolutely nothing for him, and he got sent to Real Madrid, the team that just won the Champions League. But, to their credit, they did replace him with one of the best defenders in the world, the older but wily Koulibaly. This dude is just a monster of a center half, a true leader who fills the massive hole left by Rudiger. He's coming from Italy, and while the Premier League is probably the best overall league in the world, the Serie A tends to produce the best defenders in Europe. And to now have him in a system with one of the top defensive-minded coaches in the world, it seems like a match made in heaven. So that's the good news. The bad news is they also lost their other starting center back on a free. Yes, they lost their two best defenders in the same transfer window and got nothing back for either one of them. And while they have found one defender to fill Rudiger's spot, they're still one short for another starting center back. And they spent the whole entire summer chasing after players like Jules Koundé to get nothing. It's been an absolute meme that anyone who Chelsea is going after, pretty much Barcelona has sniped away from them. And who knows how the fuck Barcelona's recruiting anyone, because they're supposed to be flat broke. I think money's just imaginary when it comes to football. Now, while they still need another defender, they were able to sign England international Raheem Sterling away from champions Man City. And this dude is a quality player, man. He definitely will be an upgrade over anyone they have on the wings. But the issue is that half the other wingers that they have want to be transferred out. And that is because this year is a World Cup year, and players want to be playing regular minutes in order to be selected for the national teams or maintain match sharpness leading into the World Cup. So high-profile signings who have fallen out of favor with Thomas Tuchel want to go somewhere else where they actually will start. Players like Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, and most notably for my American fans, Christian Pulisic aren't getting to the starting 11 regularly enough. Suffice it to say, I wouldn't be buying a Christian Pulisic Chelsea jersey anytime soon. But despite all this turmoil, and them having a less than stellar preseason, many still consider Chelsea probably the third or fourth best team in England. And that is mostly on the fact that they have an evil genius as their head coach. Thomas Tuchel is considered by some to be the best tactical manager in the world today. He came up through the German league in the shadow of Jurgen Klopp. Like literally, he coached where Klopp used to coach, starting his career in Mainz and then making his name for himself over at Borussia Dortmund. Some actually consider Tuchel to be tactically superior to Klopp, and that's because he does not rely on a system, opting more to adapt his tactics and switch out players from a game-to-game basis. But that has also led to Tuchel's main weakness, and that is he moves his players around like he's playing Football Manager and lacks the human touch that Jurgen Klopp is so masterful at. Tuchel is the Ben Shapiro of world football. It's just tactics over feelings. And because Thomas is such a constant perfectionist, he has little patience for anyone who won't play exactly how he wants it. And this has led him to constantly butt heads with upper management and players and eventually wear out his welcome at every single club he's been at. But he has also been super successful at every club that he has been at. And just 2 years ago, it was his tactical brilliance that led an unlikely Chelsea squad to win the Champions League title in a run that not only saw him defeating the best managers in the world, he did it all the while only conceding 2 goals for the entirety of the knockout stages and final. So therein lies the duality of Thomas Tuchel. Undeniably brilliant coach, but a complete asshole to work with. So you add in all this volatility into the Chelsea formula, and you could honestly see their season going anywhere from challenging for some silverware to a team that completely implodes and fires Tuchel by Christmas. So buyer beware, my friend. If you choose to support them, well, you know the roller coaster you're getting on. But if you're someone like me who thrives on chaos, well, there are very few clubs that are more chaotic than Chelsea. Now the next team we're going to talk about is what many people smarter than I have been championing as their dark horse this season, and that is Tottenham Hotspur. Now Spurs are the personification of always a bridesmaid, never a bride. They've pretty much been a shoo-in every season for top 4, just never anything worth silverware. They're almost like Sisyphus, doomed to push the rock up the hill every season, only to see it fall right back down over and over while everyone laughs at him. For my NBA fans, think of them as the Utah Jazz of the Premier League. And yes, they flirted with silverware through the years. As recently as 2019, they made it to the Champions League final and lost to Liverpool. The last trophy they won was actually in 2008, and that was the League Cup. Let me tell you something about the League Cup. Of the 4 trophies that a Premier League team can win in a season, the League Cup is considered by almost everyone the shittiest. Pretty much no one cares about it. And that was their last claim to fame, and that was all the way back in 2008. That sums up just how Spursy this team has been through the ages. But for the first time in forever, there's legitimately a different energy about this team this year. That inevitable feeling of dread has been replaced with an air of genuine optimism, and most of that is based on the track record of their manager, Antonio Conte. Now, Conte was hired last November after a dreadful start to the season that saw the sacking of their previous manager, Nuno Espirito Santo. Great name. Terrible coach. Now, Conte's reputation precedes him because he is one of the greatest mercenary managers in modern football. In fact, his managerial career can be summed up by the famous Drake lyrics, "I'm here for a good time, not a long time." As his stints at clubs are typically short-lived, but usually result in good times. Good times that involve silverware. Good times that Spurs hasn't felt in a long, long time. His CV includes winning the Serie A title with Juventus in 2012, 2013, and 2014, while also capturing their version of the FA Cup in 2012 and 13. Then he won the Premier League in 2017 with the Chelsea club that no one gave a shot at the start of the season. Oh, and he also won the FA Cup the following season with Chelsea. And then, just in 2021, he took an Inter Milan team who had just been bland in the Italian league and won their first Serie A title since 2010. And then just weeks after winning the Serie A, he went and retired, only to re-emerge this past November to take on the Tottenham project. And ever since he took over, he reignited a benign Harry Kane back to superstar form. This dude looked so mentally checked out. I mean, rumors were swirling that he was desperate to leave. But ever since Conte's been there, he's returned to world-class form, creating the best strike partnership in the Premier League alongside Heung-min Son. This South Korean has gone full K-pop under Conte, becoming a world-class goal-scoring threat. His 23 goals in the league last season tied him for joint top scorer along with Mo Salah. And that fact is made even more impressive when you learn that he did not take a single penalty for any of those 23. And then, in January, Conte brought in this Swede, Dejan Kulusevski. He has been the perfect complementary piece to Heung-min Son and Harry Kane. Some have even argued that he was a better January signing than Luis Diaz over at Liverpool. And now Spurs' front 3 attacking trident might just be the best in the Premier League. They easily finished last season as the 3rd best team in the country, and experts were saying if they were to give Conte the money to build the team he needs, they could be truly terrifying next season. And that's exactly what fucking happened. In fact, many are saying that Tottenham had the best transfer window of any team in the Premier League this year, adding Basuma, a Premier League proven defensive midfielder, exactly the type of player Conte needed for his system. And then to go ahead and grab Everton's best player in Richarlison, just as a depth and rotational piece. This team is stacked with all the tools that Conte needs to work his magic. He's already a Premier League winner and tactically able to go toe-to-toe with any manager in the world. If there was ever a time to kick the silverware drought, it would be this season. But, it is not all peaches and sunshine. Conte has short stints at clubs for a reason. He, like Tuchel, tends to wear out his welcome quickly, and there were already rumors of him trying to quit Spurs at different points last year. So there is still quite a high chance for it to go all Spursy again this season. And if it does, now you know what to shit on them for. But to their credit, it wouldn't be for lack of trying. The board has done seemingly everything to make Conte happy and given the squad to do it. Now realistically, Premier League champions is probably out of their reach, but an FA Cup or even a League Cup is certainly obtainable. And this season, it's pretty much going to be trophy or bust for Spurs. And to that I say, Godspeed. Godspeed, Tottenham. Now next up, we have Arsenal. And just 2 years ago, they finished a dreadful 8th in the table. But last year, they improved to 5th, which you would think would be cause for optimism. But if you ask most Arsenal fans how they felt about last season, you will get a mixed bag. Because on the one hand, yes, they started the season as shit as you can. 3 games, 3 losses, 0 goals scored. But by mid-season, they hit sensational form, going on a 10-game unbeaten streak. This led them to claw their way back into 4th. Arsenal fans were bragging all over social media. Their return to Champions League football over their bitter rivals Tottenham was pretty much in the bag. But then, their form nosedived at the end of the season, and yes, major injuries did play a part of it, but they just had some inexcusable losses to inferior opponents that led them to choke away Champions League football at the very end of the season. And who were they eventually pipped by? Yes, Tottenham, right at the finish line. So their season can kind of be seen like a Rorschach test for Arsenal fans. because the optimist will see a young team improving under a young, rising manager, while a pessimist will see an inexperienced team and manager that wilted under the pressure. And they both would be right. The truth lies somewhere in between. And luckily for you, my American fan, if you would like to see this roller coaster of a season as it happened, well, you're in luck, because they were documented this past year for the Amazon All or Nothing series. Yep, the first 3 episodes are coming out August 4th.
Fuck me, it's fucking starting.
Not sponsored content, by the way. But let me tell you, I'm no Arsenal fan, alright? But I'm fucking tuning in, at least until the episode when the manager, Mikel Arteta, rips the captain's armband away from their star striker Aubameyang and sends him packing to Barcelona.
Wow.
Because there's something you need to know about me. I love trashy reality television, and last year's season at Arsenal was spicy. I can't wait to see the behind the scenes. But luckily for their manager, Mikel Arteta, he actually found Aubameyang's replacement this summer in Man City's one-way striker, Gabriel Jesus. And forget about Haaland and Nunes, this kid has been looking like the best signing of the preseason. Now it is just preseason, but this young man is a proven Premier League goal scorer, still is only 25 years old, and fits the system, because Mikel studied under Pep Guardiola at Man City. He then went ahead and picked up another surplus player from Manchester City in Zinchenko. This is a guy who can play left back and anywhere in the midfield, which doesn't sound super exciting, but for Arsenal, this dude is essential, because they had so many injuries last year that a lot of those guys are still recovering. So with Zinchenko, you basically got a utility guy who can play a multitude of positions in case someone goes down. And you know, both these players are pretty much going to be plug and play in Mikel's system because his tactics are so similar to Pep Guardiola. He was pretty much Pep Guardiola's number 2 in command for like 6 years. And after this winter, you could definitely argue that Arteta has the strongest team he's ever had at Arsenal. It's a young, improving team full of potential. A team that when they're in form can play some of the most attractive football you can see. And they're also a team that can just completely not show up and shit the bed. As easily as they can slice and dice some teams, they just as easily can get their asshole torn open. And that is the dichotomy of Arsenal. They are maddeningly inconsistent. And yes, this sounds like a super fucking annoying team to support. But let me tell you the secret sauce of being an Arsenal fan. And that is, they're the only team in the league that if they lose, you arguably get even higher quality entertainment than if they win. And that is because they have the most bantered YouTube fan channel in the world. Arsenal Fan TV is pretty much an institution when it comes to Premier League discourse these days. And last season, even though Man United was in complete shambles, to just watch cocky Arsenal fans proclaim that Champions League football was all but theirs. And then to watch it slowly, just ever so slowly, slip out of their hands. I'm gonna say it. Few things are more beautiful in the world's beautiful game than watching the soul slowly leave the eyes of an Arsenal fan. It's like a pig being squeezed to death by a python. It was honestly more magical to me than Real Madrid's run in the Champions League. So what I'm trying to say to my American fans is, do not become an Arsenal fan. Don't do that to yourself. Support another team. And if anytime that team lets you down, you're feeling, a little bit of a bummer, just go over to Arsenal Fan TV and that'll cheer you up. It always cheers me up. And speaking of teams that will let you down, well, let's go ahead and talk about the dying corpse of Manchester United. Now, after finishing second only 2 seasons ago and signing the GOAT, Cristiano Ronaldo, expectations were obviously sky high last season. And what did they do? They just went on to have their worst season in Premier League history. Yeah, it was such a complete shit show that they technically had 4 different managers in the same season. Do you know how shit you have to be to have 4 different managers in a single season? That is Detroit Lions level of shittiness. It was so horrific that I had to go ahead and do a detailed breakdown on the horror show of the past season in these 2 videos up in the eye things. But the short and skinny of it is, you may recognize the names, and yes, Cristiano Ronaldo is there for now, but don't do it. Do not become a Manchester United fan. This is coming from an American who supported this club for the past 2 decades. And let me tell you, they are the Dallas Cowboys of the Premier League. Great in the 90s, but ever since the early 2000s, they've been mostly shit. And you might be like, okay, how bad can it really be? Well, after just 1 season of returning at Manchester United, Ronaldo already wants out. Yes, he has been actively going to the club grounds with his agent to negotiate a transfer away from Manchester United. And what's even sadder is that apparently nobody wants him. He's been offered to all the big teams, PSG, Bayern, Juventus, Real Madrid, and all of them have come out and said, no thank you. Which is going to shock a lot of American fans because he's Ronaldo. But the best way to put it to you guys is he's pretty much the LeBron of world football at this point. Yes, he can still score with the best of them, but my man is old. He doesn't play defense, and he's a pain in the ass if he doesn't get his way. And the truth is, the game has evolved. There aren't many world-class teams that can win consistently with a forward who refuses to play defense. And Ronaldo, for as good as he is, ranks historically as one of the shittiest pressing forwards in history. And pretty much all the good teams require a forward who presses. And because of this, he might just be stuck at Manchester United, whether he likes it or not. And if he is stuck here, let's be honest, he's not going to be happy about it. He might actually be a toxic influence on this club. I'll give it to you straight. As a Man United fan, this season's looking like a rebuild season. But there is a slight glimmer of optimism with this squad this year because the new manager they hired has been seen by many as the next big-time coach in world football. I present to you Erik ten Hag. And this man comes from the Dutch league, the Eredivisie, where he was having his Ajax team giant killing in the Champions League. He is yet another understudy of Pep Guardiola, and he has put what he has learned to good use, soundly beating teams like Real Madrid and Juventus in the Champions League with a fraction of their budgets. His tactics, philosophy, and bald head so closely mirror Pep Guardiola that he was seen as a natural successor to Pep at Man City if he ever chose to leave. But now, he is the big boss at Manchester United, and he has been whipping those boys into shape. Now, it's only preseason, but a Ronaldo-less Manchester United beat Liverpool 4-0. And yes, it's preseason, none of the shit matters, but there is just a different energy and cohesiveness to this team. They might have actually found an identity they can build off of, which is something they haven't had in the past 2 decades. Now, maybe I'm being too optimistic, and with Ronaldo wanting out and losing big names like Paul Pogba and Cavani this summer, Ten Hag is probably a few seasons away from catching up to even the likes of Chelsea. But I have to be optimistic because they are finally opting to rebuild the right way instead of just spending huge on quick fixes. And they've had an okay transfer window. They're mostly just bringing in players that Ten Hag is familiar with, but they still have the likes of Bruno Fernandes and Jadon Sancho, who just the season before were seen as 2 of the most exciting attacking talents in the world. And someone supposedly as tactically brilliant as Ten Hag could be the one to unlock them, because he actually made Dusan Tadic, a midfielder who was a complete flop in the Premier League, and turned him into one of the best attacking midfielders in the Champions League. So the hope is he can polish off a couple of these turds and maybe find a diamond in the rough or two. But what are the real expectations of Manchester United this year? Let me just put it this way. A return to top 4 would be an unbelievable result, but far more likely, they'll be lucky to make top 6. And as hyped as Ten Hag is, you never know when it comes to the Premier League, okay? Antonio Conte once said of the English League that it's pretty much like playing a totally different sport than the rest of the world. So there's going to be a lot of question marks here. Can Erik adapt? Or will he just be another manager chewed up and spit out by the Man United meat blender? I guess we will have to see. My best prediction is they'll be kind of like Arsenal last year. At times they'll play sensational football, and at other times they'll look completely lost. And most likely it's going to take a season or 2 for this team to be rebuilt in his image. So for you, my American friend, I'd say just watch the Ronaldo highlights on YouTube. That is, if he actually stays. And beyond that, maybe check back next year. That's the realistic Man United fan in me. Now, I almost forgot, if you actually want to watch these teams live and consistently, you're probably going to have to be paying $5 a month for Peacock. Yes, I understand that it's Peacock, but for $5 a month, you get to stream every single Premier League game for the entirety of the season. For pretty much a cup of coffee at Starbucks, you're going to be entertained for 9 months out of the year. And for my UK viewers, if you have a VPN, say like Surfshark for instance, you could have the same deal. So there you go, I saved your ass some money. And for $5 a month, come on, that's insane value. Especially when you compare it to NFL Sunday Ticket or NBA League Pass. Or, if you're super cheap, you can just watch the highlights on YouTube, but it still doesn't quite capture live football. And come on, watching your team live and talking shit on social media in real time is still half the reason why we enjoy this shit. Now, I know there are a couple of hipsters out there that want to know the teams beyond the Big Six. Are there any other teams that I should be looking out for this year? And for all the cool kids in the back, I would recommend teams like West Ham or Leicester. These 2 teams are coached well, and they've been flirting with the top 4 to 6 for the last couple of seasons. But the big name that all the hipsters should be on is Newcastle. And that is because Newcastle was recently bought by the Saudi royal family. Yeah, those oil-rich motherfuckers that could put Qatar to shame. You think Man City is bad right now? Well, I can guarantee you, in about 10 years, they're going to be the new Man City. So for all my early adopters, hop onto the bandwagon now. And they genuinely have a fantastic fan base. Those poor fools deserve the glory that's coming to them after the years of horrid ownership they had under Mike Ashley. So to all the Newcastle fans that have stuck around, kudos to you, man. I'm really happy for y'all. Because the Saudis, they have enough money to buy God. So do not be surprised in a decade when you see Mbappe and Haaland on Newcastle. But hey, that's a video for a decade away. And I think that is where I'm going to leave it off for now. And wait until the transfer window is closed. Because as I said in the previous video, I made my guide last year, and then on deadline day, Cristiano Ronaldo went and signed for Manchester United. So with the transfer window closing at the end of this month, a lot could still happen. Ronaldo could leave, Chelsea could actually sign a good center back. You just never know because a lot of the deals happen on deadline day. So I will be back in early September to fill you in on all the big trades and transfers that went down over the summer and give you a little talk about the early forms of the teams and big surprises of the Premier League season thus far. But before you go, American football is right around the corner. Yes, the NFL, the Premier League of America, which means it's officially prime fantasy football season. Yes, if Americans were really honest with yourselves, this is the reason why the NFL is so big in America. And as a ginormous fantasy football fan, I would like nothing better than to give you guys a clueless guide to fantasy football. So be on the lookout for that in 2 weeks' time. Oh, hi, it's the Fat Asian. Just want to say thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, go ahead, take your hard direct nipple, squish into the like button right now. Really helps me out in this godforsaken algorithm. And I'm so excited, man. The Premier League season is right around the corner. We got NFL a month away. So I got a lot of new content coming out for you guys very soon. And of course, I'd like to go ahead and take this opportunity to thank all my patronos keeping me alive during all this global BS. And of course, a personal shout out to some of my most loyal patrons. Of course, I'm talking about Fritz Gordon, Chris Sue, and Chris O'Reilly. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for me, BMOnus. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Remember, stay yourselves, stay humble. Until next time, guys, as always, America.